Hey guys, here's your homework for today is to watch this video and then take your answers, work together with me to get your answers and then put them in Canvas. So the basic understanding place value. We just want to understand the place values that are going on here, right? And remember, when we set up our little chart, my little cheat sheet chart, remember decimal means and. If you're to the left of the decimal, the number is a whole number and it gets bigger. You have your ones, tens, hundreds, thousands. And if you go to the right of the decimal, you're now going less than one, right? Into your fractions, your decimals and fractions, they're the same thing. And you're getting parts of a whole, right? Less than one. And if you guys can remember, whenever you see, here's your note to jot down. Whenever you see 1/10, that just means to divide by 10, right? So anytime you're multiplying by 10, you're basically going one place value to the left. And anytime you're dividing by 10, you're going one place value to the right, and your number's getting smaller. So think about it. If you divide something up, the actual whole big shape is getting smaller, right? And if you multiply it, it gets bigger. So we're going to go through these problems. We're not going to spend a ton of time. I don't want this to be a very long video. So I'm going to read the question, tell you to pause. You solve it, work it out on your own, and then I'm going to solve it. And then you check your answer. Then at the end, you put it in Canvas to get your points. Okay, here we go. So number one says, choose the correct answer to fill in the blank. 10 times as much as 100 is what? Pause the video. Okay, so if you solve this one, you know that 10 times as much of 100 is 100, and it's just 10 times more, right? Now, you can solve it all the way out if you really want, and you would get your 1,000, right? So if you're absolutely confused, you can multiply it all the way out, and that's fine. But also, just remember, if you have 100 and we're times 10, whoops, and you are times 10, just remember that that's just taking this 100 and you're just adding 10 to the end of it, right? Would also give you 1,000. So if you can start to think of those rules, they'll go a lot quicker for you. Okay, so for number one, you should have C. All right, number two says choose the correct answer to fill in the blank. 10 times as much as blank is 40,000. Okay, pause. Okay, so when you look at this one, you have to think about the same thing, right? 10 times as much as blank is 40,000. So we're basically doing the reverse here, right? So you're taking your 40,000 and you want to find out what we multiplied to get the 40,000. So you would switch it and do division of the 10, right? So really, you got to think about the words, right? 40,000 is your end answer. So if we do the opposite, this is 10 times some number. So to find out what that number is, we would just do division, right? So you take 40,000 and the 10. If you just cross out these zeros, it leaves you with 4000, which is 4,000, and your answer would be B. So make sure you pay attention to those place values. Okay, C. Choose the correct answer to fill in the blank. 100 times as much as 1,360 is, pause the video. Okay, two ways to do this. You can take your 1,360, multiply it by 100, and then put in your zeros. Put in the 1, 2, 3 zeros, and put down the 136, and get 136,000, which is D, and that's the answer. Or what is much easier to do is take out your 1,360 and 100 times. So here's 100. There's two zeros. And if you're multiplying it, you're making the number bigger. So you would go 1, 2. And then you would have 1, 3, 6, and then 3 zeros. And you could do it that way too. So start to learn these strategies. All right, on to number 4. What place value is 1/10 of the thousandths place value? 1/10 of the thousandths place value. Okay, pause. Okay, remember, if you're taking 1/10 of it, we're dividing by 10, right? So you would have the thousandths place divided by 10. 1/10 is dividing by 10, right? We said that up there in the key, right? So what place value would you go to? Well, you can eliminate a 0, and then you have 1 into 100 is hundreds, and the answer would be A, hundreds. All right, on to number 5. What is 1/100th of 1.2? Pause the video. Okay, so for number 5, this gets a little more confusing, but if you just put down your 1.2 and know that you're dividing so that your number is going to get smaller, right? If you're dividing this up, the number is going to get smaller. And in this 100, there are 2 zeros. So you're just going to move your decimal point to make the number smaller because it's one whole now, right? So if it's going to get smaller, if you go this way, it's going to turn into 1,000, 1,200 as the whole. But if you go 1, 2 this way, and now you have 0.0012, you will get your answer. And that is said, what? Tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000s. This would be 12 10,000s. I guess that would be it. We're getting into big numbers now, right? So your answer would be B. So you guys have to just learn that when you see 1/100th, that's just dividing by 100, right? And if you're totally confused, you can take 100 and divide it into 1.2000, put all the zeros in there, and you'll eventually get the answer. Keep your decimal point the same. This would go in, 100 would go into 100 and doesn't go into that, doesn't go into 12. It would be 1, 100, 200, would be 200, and you get a 0 at the end. So even if you divided it out, you would get the answer. I'm off somewhere. I didn't do it right. Ignore me. That's why it's hard. We shouldn't start. Try to avoid doing that. To see how I just screwed up. Just learn to move the decimal point, right? Okay, so that's number 5. We'll talk more about that this week. Let's keep going. Number 6. Jenna has 1/10 the amount of Legos as Tommy. Tommy has 430 Legos. How many Legos does Jenna have? Pause it. Okay, real simple. If you've learned the formula that I've told you, you just take 430. Remember, this is divide by 10, right? So our decimal point is here. You're dividing by 10. So the 430 has to get smaller, right? So if you just divide by 10, you're going to move a 10 has 1 0 in it. So you're going to move a 1 place value to the left. And that would give you 43 as your answer of C. Now, you can also divide 10 into 430, and you're going to get 43. It's more important that you guys understand the words, right? If you pay attention to what it's asking, you'll get these much quicker. So your answer would be 43. I know we're going kind of quick, but hopefully you guys are pausing and taking some time to think about these on your own. Number 7 says a microscope set to enlarge objects 100 times as large as the original size. Juan looks at a fly that is 0.72 thousandths of a centimeter long. How long will the fly appear through the microscope? Pause it and work it out. Okay, if you guys are paying attention to what we're saying, there are ways for you to work this out, right? But if you just take rewrite it, and we're going 100 times, which means the number is going to get bigger, right? So if you get bigger, you have to move your decimal point to the right, and 100 has 2 zeros in it, so you would go 1, 2. And then your answer would become 7.2 essentially, right? So your answer for this one would be D. And I hope you guys see, you've just got to pay attention when it says 100 times, that means it's getting bigger by 2 place values because of the 2 zeros, right? If it was 1/100th, you're dividing it 2 place values. You would go the other direction, so the number gets smaller. So don't get tricked, because if you go the wrong way with this, it's going to still give you the right answer, right? Actually, it doesn't even if you go the wrong way for number 7. So try to learn this. You've got to practice which way to go with these, okay? Number 8 says the distance on a map from the coffee shop to the pharmacy is 529 thousandths of a yard. I cut off part of the word there. The actual distance is 1,000th times as large. What is the actual distance from the coffee shop to the pharmacy? So take this number, and it's 1,000 times as large. Pause and try to solve that. Okay, so if you're taking your 0.529 and it's 1,000 times as large, you have 1, 2, 3 zeros. And you have to make the number get bigger because it's 1,000 times as large. It's 1,000 times bigger. You've got to go to the right the amount of times it says. So 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Your decimal would now go here, and you would have 529, which is just 529, right? Pay attention to which way you're moving. Your answer would be A. All right, let's look at number 9. About 1/10 of 12 million people have dogs. How many people have dogs? 1/10. That should tell you what to do. 1/10 equals to divide by 10, right? Pause the video and do it. Okay, this one, I mean, you guys can write these out as math problems, but if you start to learn the rules, watch how much easier it gets. 12 million is that number right there, right? I'm dividing that by 10. So all you for real have to do is cross out this 0, cross out this 0. Now rewrite the number, because now we're dividing by 1. So just write the number you have left here. 1, 2, 3, 5, 2, 3, 3. So your answer is, you're still in the millions. 1.2 million would be your answer. But if you're sitting here and trying to go 10 divided by 12 million and then trying to subtract that all out, I mean, you can do that. But if you can start to understand how to move the tenths, times 10, if you're making it bigger, divided by 10, if you're making it smaller, you'll be much better off. All right, number 10 says, compare the place value of the 5 in 152,378 to the place value of the 5 in 24,589 using the place value system. Now on your homework, this is a true or false question. So take a second, compare those two. Pause the video. Okay, so when we look at 152,378, I just said it out loud, right? The 5 is at 152,000. So in the first one, the 5 is in the 10,000s place. The 5 in 24,500, I just said it out loud, 589. 5 is in the hundreds place, huh? Right? Hundreds place. So if we take a look at that, here is the 10,000s place, and one is in the hundreds place, right? So if we want to know the difference between the two of those, you could just take out these zeros. Oh, my pen's not working. And 1 into 100. Their place value is 100 times different, right? One is in the 10,000s, one is in the 100,000s. That's basically 2 whole place values off, right? Because you go from the hundreds to the thousands to the 10,000s. Ones, tens, hundreds, thousands. And in this first one, we're in the hundreds. And then we go all the way out to the 10,000s. So it's 100 times different. All right, take those answers. I'll give you a hint. The answer to this one, if you followed this far, the answer will be true because it says basically this in there. All right, guys, if you have any questions, be sure to email me. Thanks. Bye.